Previously, Touya was resurrected in the fantasy world with God's blessing, which made him overpowered, and along his journey he got engaged with 5 girls. And now he was searching for the part of the floating places known as Babylon, of which he already found 3 parts, the Sky Garden, the Workshop, and the Alchemy Ward. So to find other part quickly, he summoned a high-level spirit who controls the bird to search for the Babylon ruin for him, and the next day when Touya woke up, he saw Yamina sleeping right next to him, which felt nice at first, but Touya does not have a habit of sleeping with women. But it wasn't strange in Yamina's eyes that a husband and a wife is sleeping together. Saying that she left to get fresh, Touya was hanging in there dealing with 5 wives. Their Kogyoko came to tell him that one of the scout birds had discovered ruins in a forest. As the location of that ruin was in the kingdom of Sandor, he consulted with his wives and they began betting on which part of the Babylon this ruin would be, the hangar or a library or anything else. Then, on their way to the ruins in the forest, they came across various wild beasts, but the ladies handled it on their own, and Touya felt useless for the time being. There they discovered the ruin that would lead him to Babylon, so Touya entered it and was teleported, but as he arrived, he barely avoided an attack from a loli. So she is the manager of this part of Babylon, Monica, so as a test she attacks Touya to test him, but her every attempt was a children's game for Touya. So she recognized him as the master and kissed him to pass ownership of this part to him. And this was the part what Touya was looking for, the hangar, to get his hands on a weapon, frame gears, a single-piloted robot capable of fighting the crystal monsters. But it's just useless unless they get the fuel for it, and the fuel can only be made in a Babylon's research lab, so it'll be a while before Touya gets to play with it. So Monica gives him the idea to make the fuel in the alchemy ward of the Babylon. Floret can make it in alchemy ward, but they need an ether ore, or commonly known as magic stones. But the size of the stone they have would be insufficient. Touya considered purchasing a larger one, but the size they needed is rare, not to mention priceless if it exists. So Touya used his phone to find the biggest ore they could find, and the larger ore that he got was more than enough for him to have the fuel. And then they had everything they needed to pilot the robot. But operating a powerful weapon would still require practice, so Rosetta had an idea and made a dummy model in the workshop for Touya to practice before he got the frame gear. Then he developed a natural instinct for these types of toys and even mass-produced them to teach his harem, but then Sushi came in crying to Touya, begging him to make her his wife. She wants to be his wife because his maid Seska told her that he likes lowly girls and she received an arranged marriage proposal from the prince of the Linhi kingdom. Touya thought there was nothing wrong with marrying a future king, but Liam shared with him that Prince Sabun has a very bad reputation among women. Especially since he is over 30 and claims to have fallen for Sushi at a party. His entire harem is fine with him taking in another member, but when Touya gets to her father, the Duke, he tells him that the king of that nation is just a figure. And the real power is held by Prime Minister Wardak. He's the Queen Dacia's brother, so he can do whatever he wants, but the second prince is the polar opposite of them, but he's the son of a concubine, so he doesn't have much power. And rumor has it that he lives away from everything because of his mother's illness, but when the messenger from the Linhi kingdom arrives, Duke declines their marriage proposal, revealing to him that Sushi is engaged to the Duke of Brunhild Touya. Suddenly, that messenger falls to his knees, pleading to Touya to save his mother. In reality, he is Prince Cloud, the second prince of the Linhi kingdom. His mother is being held hostage by the prime minister in order to keep the king in check. So they thought of this marriage to strengthen their standing among nobles in order to crown Zabun the king of the nation. So Duke called in the meeting of every neighboring kings on this matter. Cloud only has a backing from the former prime minister in order to overthrow the damn prince and prime minister. Every king had shown their support, but they knew Touya very well. So they entrusted him with this responsibility. Touya enters their kingdom using invisible magic with Els and Yai, and their Cloud contacts his brother to inform him of the rejection of their proposals. So Zabun had slave by his side and was planning to enslave Sushi as well, but when he heard the reason for their refusal, he wanted to spread rumors in Belfast Kingdom about Touya being a womanizer in order to break off Sushi's engagement, which irritated Yai and Els, but they managed to remain calm. Then, in the room, Cloud tells them that slavers are forbidden here, but he doesn't care about the rules, so Touya just swoops in and saves that slave girl. Zabun got on his ends that the slave of his ran away, so his uncle, the prime minister, just tells him to kill her and the slave collar could have done so if Touya hadn't removed it right away. Touya was even more enraged when he learned that they were planning to send Cloud to their neighboring kingdom with a war declaration, so that if they kills Cloud, they could wage war. So the only thing stopping Cloud was his mother's life, so Touya went to their prison and paralyzed all the soldiers so that he could enter that prison and save his mother. Now that Cloud's mother is now safe. Former Prime Minister Kup got activity on their side, so all that remains now is to expose Zabuun and Wardak to the king, which will require some solid proof. So Touya went to their castle for that and overheard their conversation about their plan, which Zabuun didn't care about, so he left. So Toyas immediately began recording their plan that Wardak was planning to kill the king in order to take his throne. Furthermore, they admit that Zabuun is not the king's son, but Wardak's son, which was more than enough evidence for their demise, so Touya immediately showed this recording to the king. And he summoned the nobles meeting and announced to them that the new future king of the kingdom Linhe will be Cloud, which completely shocked them and ruined their plans. The king exposed them by telling Touya to display their conversation in public. Cloud quickly ascended to the throne and quickly expelled the merchants who had been associated with Wardak. Soon after they received the death penalty but were actually sold as slaves, things returned to normal in the kingdom of Linhe, and Sushi was overjoyed to become Touya's wife, but he wasn't so sure. Which upset her, but looking back, no one had a problem accepting her, so Touya heart fully accepted her. Now he has 6 girls in his harem and only 3 more to go, so let's call it a day for today. But please subscribe to the channel to get the most up-to-date information on its next part.